there's two eras. And if you look at the galactic 26,000, not the galactic, the solar 26,000 year cycle, because we spend 13,000 years above the galactic disk, 13,000 years below the galactic disk. So Lemuria represents to me the period where we're in the most integrated state. When we're in the most integrated state, the veil of alienness is removed. We feel fractally that all beings are part of the one self. We not only see it, we feel it to such a deep degree because we're in that integrated period. In the polarized period, the projective, we're in a separative experience. That's below the galactic disk. So Lemuria represents a period 13,000 years and further back. And that was a period when beings felt the unity consciousness to such a degree that there was no aliens. That's the period where species from all over the galaxy, all over the universe, come here to share. So Schoolhouse Earth is ripe for sharing. When each being sends off that, oh, you're a brother. And without the alienness, the revulsiveness that comes with contracted consciousness. So Lemuria existed at a period that when the spectrum was coming down from those integrated and moving into separative, Lemuria existed still in that state of unity, but was experiencing the diminishing of that. And this is where the great period where we feel abandoned by all the extraterrestrial races. So we move into the era of the Atlantean. And the Atlantean was, now, you can find in the Magic Presence and Unveiled Mysteries, and there's one other book. This is from another Lemurian and Shasta contact, which is Ray Ballard, who created the I Am Mysteries. I think that's the third book. And he was on Panther Meadows, so there's a big connection there. And the Ascended Masters would come to him, and he began the channeling of the I Am Presence and the I Am organization. And that spread out, that flourished in the late 30s and 40s, and to this day. But anyway, in those books, he channeled, and the Ascended Masters were channeling that Lemuria existed at a time when it was still part of the upper, and Atlantis existed, and there was a third continent, which is right in the Amazon plain, which is parts of it are starting to be discovered now that they have LIDAR, they're starting to see. So there was 3 different eras, 3 different civilizations, but they all coexisted at one point. So when we're talking about the changing of the going from the unity cycle to the separative cycle, that was very patriarchal. Now, Atlantis, who experienced part of the integrated spectrums of consciousness, they were adept at a lot of the spiritual technologies. And in that spiritual technology era, they were all about trying to hold the frequencies up in that unity as best as possible through spiritual technology. And so they're principally some of the ones who went around putting the pyramids, ley lines, temples, etc., trying to hold the frequencies up in the most integrated. But because it's supposed to drop, you're going to have the failures. And I had a direct experience of this era. And so this changeover that took place, I was in this Egyptian just ornate temple. I was the only one in there, and I was a queen. And boy, was I dressed nice, but I was crying like crazy. I was on the floor, just lamenting to we were in, and I was the observer. I was everything in the ornate temple room and the person on the ground there. And so I'm like, oh my God, I can feel too the failure of trying to hold the consciousness up. You're trying all these things to do it, and it's failing. And of course, you take all the responsibility and liabilities. It becomes, why didn't you? Anyway, I'm lamenting, and I feel Isis come into the room, and Isis goes, oh my, how we love our dramas. And I began to realize, oh, this is that era where you're supposed to feel the separation as much as we were attempting. And of course, in Atlantis was the period where using that spiritual technology, sure, we were dropping more into ego, and people used it the way they did. And well, that started a lot of the black magic at that time. But you can see that the Lemurian era took us from cohabitating with all of the species across the galaxy, sharing cultural ideals when we didn't feel they were alien. We felt the oneness, but we're supposed to drop. So how many belief systems do we have feeling failure and not being able to hold the consciousness up, and then they abandon us? I mean, there's so many issues that come up during this period when we're changing from the integrated cycle to the projective and separative cycle. And we take all the blame, and we bury it inside and compartmentalize it. And it's time for many of us are starting to have those issues come up and see them clearly and forgive ourselves for them. Seeing the reality, you can't stop consciousness from going into separate. This is where Krishna says to Arjuna, don't try to awaken the masses during the Kali Yuga, the most deepest separative state. You're wasting your time. Wait until the consciousness moves out, then you can start. Of course, we all got to try, and there's those there that are ready and willing to hear the messages and so on. Anyway, I'm going off on tangents and stuff. I love this topic, and it just touches on so many different things. Yes, there's other beings that went into the earth that tried to help hold the consciousness. There's so much, but it really opens Pandora's box, so to speak.